File item 95 is passed and retained. We've dispensed with file item 96. File items 97 and 98 pass and retain. We are moving to file item 99. This is AB 2168 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 2168 with amendments by Assemblymember Williams.
Mr. Williams on the amendments.
Mr. Speaker, colleagues, these amendments make clear that the PUC cannot dictate to the Office of Ratepayer Advocates which audits are conducted and the terms under which they are prepared. All other amendments are technical and clarifying. I ask for your aye votes on amendments.
Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The bill is out to print and back on file. Members, moving back to guest introductions. Mr. Jones, you are recognized at your desk for your special guest introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm honored today to introduce some guests that have flown up this morning all the way from San Diego. Some fourth graders from my district that are here to put a conclusion on their fourth grade history year studying California. And they are up in the gallery, the fourth grade class from Christian Elementary with their teachers Donita London, Kurt Hines, and Principal Jim Downey. If we can give them a warm welcome, please.
Okay, members, back on the file. File items 100 through 102, pass and retain. Moving to file item 103, that's AB 2135 by Mr. Levine. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2135 by Assemblymember Levine, an act relating to alcoholic beverages.
Mr. Levine, you may open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I am pleased to present AB 2135. This bill seeks to provide clarity as it relates to revenue sharing activities at state and county fairs. Financial pressures over the years have caused state and county fair operators to seek additional sources of revenue. AB 2135 would clarify that revenue from fair operators that enter into concession agreements that include revenue of sale of alcoholic beverages are not considered exercising of license privileges. This bill has received unanimous support. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 77, no 0. Measure passes. File item 104 is passed and retained. Members, without objection, we are going to move to file item 147. Therefore, file items 145 and 146 pass and retain. File item 147 is ACR 137. The clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 137 by Assemblymember Harper and others relative to John Wayne.
Mr. Harper, you may open on the resolution.
Thank you, Speaker and members. I'm here to present Assembly Concurrent Resolution 137 to mark May 26, 2016 as John Wayne Day. John Wayne was an important part of California's history and is especially important for Orange County. John Wayne represents values like self-reliance, patriotism, and determination. He was a huge supporter of our military and entertained our troops during World War II. He was a longtime resident of Southern California and loved hosting friends at his home and beloved yacht The Wild Goose, a converted minesweeper in Newport Beach and was a longtime Newport Beach resident. John Wayne was also an alumnus and a football player for the University of Southern California. Upon his passing in 1979, the Orange County Airport was renamed after John Wayne as John Wayne Airport in honor of his achievements and influence. Currently, there's a 9-foot statue of him raised at John Wayne Airport. This bill would recognize the anniversary of John Wayne's birthday, May 26, 2016, as John Wayne Day. I respectfully ask for an aye vote and ask for the first roll to be open for bipartisan co-authors.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Mr. Alejo, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I believe, question for the author, I believe this is his first resolution on the floor, but I wanted to ask him if he actually knew what the Duke's real name was and whether he had a favorite quote about John Wayne and why we should be supporting this resolution on this floor today.
With permission of the Speaker, of course, his real name is Marion Morrison.
And do you have a favorite quote?
I can't say it correctly, but it's speak slow. Speak low so people can understand you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on my own time and with permission to read, actually, the Duke's name
Without
was
objection.
Marion Robert Morrison. And the reason I'm rising here today is that I know that John Wayne was an icon to the conservative movement, continues to be for some. But I asked about his real name because I want to separate John Wayne, the actor, versus John Wayne, the real person, Marion Robert Morrison. Because if you read this resolution, it's pretty well sanitized. It selects only certain parts of his life. It presents a revisionist history of who this man was. So if you read the text, and that's all you did, you wouldn't know much more about who John Wayne was during his career. Many do not know that he was a strong supporter of the House Committee on Un-American Activities that pursued many activists and brought them before congressional hearings for many, many years. Many do not know that he was a member of the John Birch Society and that he had disturbing views towards race in this country, so much so that segregationist governor of Alabama, George Wallace, asked him to be his running mate at a certain part during his career. But I asked about quotes very intentionally as well, because even though John Wayne had many famous quotes, the quotes that you often don't hear, especially when we're considering passing a resolution honoring his legacy, might disturb us even today. In 1971, during a magazine interview, he was interviewed, and during that interview, he stated, "I've always followed my father's advice. He told me to always keep my word, and second, to never insult anybody unintentionally. If I insult you, you can goddamn be sure I intend to." And then he went on to say speaking about African Americans, and this is during 1971, during the height of activism and the civil rights movement. He stated, "We can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of blacks. I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people." These are the quotes that you don't often hear. And so when we talk about learning about your history and about ethnic studies and the struggles, sometimes harsh struggles, sad chapters in California and the United States history, we can't forget it many decades later. And that's why I say today, perhaps he's already honored in the Hollywood Hall of Fame. He has an airport named after him. But when we're representing our constituents on this floor, we have to think about the diversity of the people that we represent and whether this merits us honoring him with the resolution on this floor. To honor him and to approve this resolution today would be ignoring the hurtful statements and views that this man professed during his career. I, for one, cannot allow our young people and allow anyone else to forget the views that this man had, the other side, the person that John Wayne was in his own personal life. So with that, I respectfully ask my colleagues to not support this resolution today.
Ms. Gonzalez, you are recognized.
I also rise in opposition to this resolution. A lot of people may have watched John Wayne in his movies as a child. I never did. I had, thank God, a mother who believed the movies themselves presented us with a problem, because apparently there was a lot of slaughtering of Native Americans in those movies. And it's one thing in a movie to not allow your children to watch it or not agree with the content of a movie. But when John Wayne was asked about that in his own personal life, when he was asked his feelings on Native Americans' permission to read, I'd like to quote him.
Without objection.
I don't feel we did wrong in taking the great country away from them. These were great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. Colleagues, there are a lot of times I don't agree with who we're honoring in a resolution, and maybe I just don't vote for it. But today, this is somebody that has outwardly expressed racism, hostility, homophobia, and to his death, never even apologized or somehow, George Wallace, at least at some point, realized he was wrong. And this wasn't happening in the 1800s or the 1930s or the 1950s. It was happening in most of our lifetime. I respectfully ask for a no vote.
Mr. Gibson, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I was not going to rise to speak regarding this, but as an African-American male who represents a very diverse community, I find this resolution very disturbing. I find it very disturbing in terms of what Mr. Wayne has said around African Americans. It's been chronicled, it's been written, and it also reflects his quotes. And I believe those quotes certainly signify this individual. To say something in terms of African Americans, I think that when we come here and support a resolution, it's something that we believe in, it's something we can wrap our arms around. Certainly his movies is one thing, but in terms of his private life and also his views, I feel them are very offensive. And it's just not because this resolution has come before us today. And again, want to certainly respect my colleague for bringing it forth in terms of his views, but I cannot sit here and not say something regarding this particular resolution. And as my colleague, Mr. Leo, indicated, when I go back to my district and someone reads that I've supported a resolution that demoralizes, demeans African Americans, and I'm African American and represent that particular constituency, I have not done what I need to do to stand up and let my voice be heard. So I also will be asking my colleagues for a no vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Seeing no, Mr. Allen. Members, if you'd like to be recognized, please raise your microphones now so I can see you. Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For those legislators here on this floor that might forget who John Wayne really was and what he really stood for, let me remind you. This comes from a newspaper article that was written, it's the Rome News Tribune, written Sunday, May 25th, 1975. Now, let me also remind you that I represent Little Saigon, which is the largest Vietnamese community outside of the country of Vietnam. And the reason I love John Wayne was not only because he was such a great actor, and he stood for those big American values that we know and we love, and what makes me proud to be an American. But the reason I have a real soft spot for him in my heart is because he loved the Vietnamese people. He loved the Vietnamese refugees. And as a matter of fact, he did everything he could to help them out, which is why we have so many of them in Orange County, because after the fall of Saigon, John Wayne was instrumental in making sure that they were coming to Orange County, finding a comfortable, happy, American home. And so now all these Vietnamese Americans that I am so proud to call my constituents, if you want to talk about diversity or whatever language you like to use, I prefer to see them as Americans just like I'm an American, because I believe that America is a melting pot. So, Mr. Speaker, with permission to read, I'd like to read just a brief excerpt from the article.
Without objection.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, and here we go. Actor John Wayne may be coming to the rescue again, this time by helping Wen Cao Ki settle Vietnamese refugees in not California, but Arizona. Key, who arrived in Washington Saturday to visit his wife, told reporters, "Wayne wrote me a letter offering 17,000 acres in Arizona." Wayne says that's not quite accurate. He told the LA Times he offered Key help in acquiring land that he learned was available. But Wayne doesn't plan to buy it for the refugees. He wanted them to buy it for themselves. Key, just so everyone knows, was the former vice premier of South Vietnam, who was the U.S. ally. Through these actions and many others, John Wayne is remembered not only in Orange County, but around the world as being a great American hero and a true friend to the Vietnamese people, which we are now so proud to call Americans. Thank you. I urge support.
Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
Also wasn't going to rise until I heard some of the attacks on John Wayne. And the fact of the matter is, on this floor, we have recognized quite a number of folks who, in each and every particular of their personal lives, perhaps didn't live up to the highest standards. Certainly, I know there are a lot of folks on this floor who are very big fans both of Franklin Roosevelt and Earl Warren, and yet we see some of the horrible things that they perpetrated in government, in particular with respect to the internment of Japanese citizens during World War II. We have recognized lots of leaders of the civil rights and the labor movement, and rightly so, though any one of those people, like any one of us, would have something in their background that would perhaps be not admirable, that would perhaps, looking back from our modern perch, be considered horrible. And we are able to, and rightly able to, set aside those defects. And what my friend from Salinas has identified is a very troubling and very serious defect. But recognize that not any one of us is only the product of our worst feelings or statements. We are all much, much more than that. And the point of this resolution is to recognize the symbolic importance of John Wayne and the persona that he projected for us and for our nation, the activities he took out, as was explained in the resolution, to support our troops, for example, during the Second World War and during the Vietnam War, as my friend from Huntington Beach spoke. Any one of us is imperfect. Every one of us is imperfect. But we've got a symbolic recognition here, like we symbolically recognize so many other leaders. You can't be the type of unrepentant racist that some would suggest John Wayne was, such a white supremacist, and look at the reality of his life, where he married not one but two women, one from Mexico, one from South America. Not the normal conduct of a wild-eyed white supremacist racist. People change, people make mistakes, but this resolution isn't, in my mind, focusing on the person of John Wayne. It is focusing on the persona of John Wayne. And let me tell you, that persona still does very good work in my community. Just last December, during the interim, I had the opportunity to take a tour of my entire district by air from the Orange County Sheriff's Department helicopter service. It's called the Duke Unit because it was funded and remains funded by the Wayne family and by the resources that John Wayne was able to amass over his lifetime in the persona that the resolution celebrates. It is celebrating John Wayne and what he meant to this country. It is not asking you to sanctify everything that Mary and Robert Morrison did during his life. It's John Wayne we're celebrating because John Wayne did mean a lot to this country, and John Wayne continues, at least in my district, in my Orange County home continues to help us and help all of our citizens stay safe. John Wayne wasn't perfect. Nobody we've ever recognized on this floor is perfect. The perfect should not be the enemy of the good. John Wayne continues to do some good, and I urge you to recognize that with an aye vote.
Mr. Medina, you are recognized.
I also was not planning to rise for this resolution, but I feel that I need to clarify some of the things that have been said. I think a man's life is complicated. I certainly never met John Wayne, but I certainly saw a lot of his movies. And to correct my friend, colleague from Orange County, his first wife was not from South America. His first wife was from Panama. His first wife was a diplomat's daughter from the country of Panama. When the Panama Canal treaties were being debated, and I remember John Wayne's name coming up, but I had to go back to look at the record. When the Panama Canal treaties was being debated, John Wayne stood up to Ronald Reagan, wrote him a blistering letter in support of the Panama Canal Treaty. When the John Birch Society was against the Panama Canal Treaty, John Wayne stood up and said that the Panama Canal Treaty was correct. When I was back in Atlanta not too long ago, I went to the Carter Library to view the Panama Canal Treaty. He was a friend, John Wayne was a friend of Omar Torrijos, who signed the Panama Canal Treaty with President Carter. My friend from Orange County is correct. John Wayne's second wife was from Mexico. John Wayne loved Latin America. He stood up for Latin America. I think a man's life is complicated. Now knowing the point and how he stood up for the Panama Canal Treaty, I have no other choice but to vote for the resolution.
Mr. Mathis, you're recognized.
You know, as we discuss the merits of the man, I believe it's important for us to remember this man was awarded 2 medals by our country. In '79, Wayne was awarded the Congressional Medal, and then in 1980, he was awarded the Presidential Medal on Freedom. Now think about that for a moment as you discuss the merits of the man. The Presidential Award on Freedom. I urge your support on this resolution.
Mr. Williams, you are recognized.
Members, I know a man's life is complicated, but to me, it boils down to this. I cannot support a resolution in support of a man who said that my wife's people experienced genocide in this country, Native Americans experienced genocide in this country because they were selfishly keeping the land to themselves. Members, I ask for a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Seeing no additional discussion or debate on this item, Mr. Harper, you may close on the resolution.
Thank you very much. Members, I'm surprised at the controversy, to be honest, and would have appreciated if folks had objections letting me know beforehand. But of course, I know that today. But nevertheless, I stand behind this resolution because of not only his importance to my district, to my county, but also to the state of California. It's a recognition of the significance of the man, and I think as the member from Irvine very articulately identified, is the persona. When many people abandoned our troops during the Vietnam War, he's the man who stood for our troops, made the Green Berets, and stood beside our fighting men across the Pacific. The John Wayne that I know and John Wayne that I understand is the man who stood firm and argued with directors and made sure to improve the portrayal and the working conditions of Native Americans portrayed in Westerns, which were so popular in the United States and throughout the world. This resolution recognizes the significance and the importance of a man, similarly, as the member from Irvine articulated so well, is that many of us vote for resolutions honoring those who may have had different political views, may have had different social views, but their significance to the history of California, the significance to the fabric of who we are, is what we indeed recognize. And the man whose name is with John Wayne Airport and with many of us know, and many of the portrayals that you still see on television and commercials, is proceeds donated to the John Wayne Cancer Foundation, which is one of the most instrumental nonprofits in terms of combating and tackling cancer. I ask for your vote for this resolution, just as the state of Texas has, and that was the inspiration for this resolution, because I felt when Texas made the resolution that certainly we shouldn't turn our backs on who was truly a Californian. I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Harper is asking that the first roll be open for co-authors on the resolution. The clerk will open the roll. All members wishing to add as co-authors. This is for co-authors on ACR 137. It's co-authors adding on to the resolution. The clerk will close the roll. There are 28 co-authors added. We will take a roll call vote on this item. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who wish to vote. 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 This requires 41 votes. Mr. Harper moves the call. Members, moving briefly back to guest introductions. Mr. Levine, you have guests with us in the gallery today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. It is my pleasure this morning to introduce about 90 students from the Casa Grande High School in Petaluma. They are all seniors enrolled in economics or government, and their purpose today was to see exactly what we just did, to see government in action and to see legislative debate. And thank you, members, for providing a great example of our work. And please join me in welcoming the Gauchos here this morning.